So today we're going to continue with Mendel, and we're going to talk about Mendel's laws of inheritance. And so we're looking at just how traits get passed from parent to offspring, and how offspring can have some of the traits, but also have unique traits of their own. So our I can statements today, I can use genotypes to determine phenotypes. Remember, a genotype are the actual gene letters, like the genetic makeup, the A or big B, little b, or big B, big B. A phenotype is what does the trait physically look like brown hair or blue eyes. I can explain the law of segregation and the law of independent assortment, and these are two of the laws of inheritance that Gregor Mendel discovered. If we were in school, I'd have you turn to your partner and talk about how this picture shows genetics. So hopefully you can see similarities and differences in the family members. Just a quick review, Gregor Mendel was a monk from Europe. He sometimes is called the father of genetics because he's the first person to do intensive studies on inheritance. And he discovered that gene alleles can be dominant and more powerful, or recessive and a little bit weaker. Gregor Mendel conducted experiments with pea plants in the monastery garden, and during those pea plant experiments is when he realized that some of the plants had different physical characteristics that could be passed from the parent plant to the offspring. He discovered some of those alleles are dominant and will overpower the weaker recessive alleles. As mentioned before, Mendel cross-pollinated, which means he took out the male reproductive structures called the stamens, and then he took the pollen from like a pure tall plant, and he pollinated a pure short. He took the pollen from a pure short, and he pollinated a pure tall. He called the parent plants his pea generation, and as you could see in that pea generation, he has a tall and a short. And then he gathered those seeds from that cross, planted them, and what he noticed is all of the plants grew tall. And that is when he called tall dominant. It overpowered the short plant. When he let the second generation just pollinate themselves, so basically taking a hybrid and a hybrid, he found that he got 3/4 of that third generation, or the second generation, I should say. He got 3/4 tall and 1/4 short. So 75% grew tall and 25% grew short. So he saw that the short was not gone in that first generation. It was being hidden by that dominant tall gene. It came back again in the second generation when two of the short genes could get together to create a short plant. Now let's look at Mendel's laws of inheritance. His first law is called the law of segregation. And this is Mendel's first law. And it states that allele pairs separate randomly or segregate from each other during the production of gametes. Remember, gametes is sperm and egg, and this happens during meiosis. So during meiosis, the pairs, meaning in the parent, you have two alleles, one from the mother and one from the father. They will separate from each other randomly during the process of sperm or egg. Remember that a sperm or egg only carries one allele for each inherited trait. And at fertilization, each gamete is going to contribute its alleles, giving the offspring a complete set. So the sperm is going to bring one allele from each pair, or half, and the egg will bring half. And at fertilization, when the sperm fertilizes the egg, you get a complete set of chromosomes. So to kind of recap, Mendel's first law, the law of segregation, is during meiosis, when egg and sperm form, that pair of alleles that was together for a trait will randomly separate from each other. And so that can create the sperm and the egg that only has half the number of chromosomes. Mendel also has a second law of inheritance called the law of independent assortment. This states that the allele pairs separate independently during meiosis, and traits are transmitted to the offspring independently of one another. So what this means is that the gene for brown hair and the gene for, let's say, blue eyes are independent of each other, and they don't necessarily have to go together. So the gene for your hair color and the gene from your eye color are separate from each other, and they can randomly sort out independent of each other. They don't depend on one another. So hair color is independent from eye color. Pea color is independent from pea shape, so they don't have to necessarily have anything to do with each other. If you have a widow's peak or not is totally separate from your earlobes. They're different genes, and they separate and sort out independently. So this is kind of showing you that they're looking at the seed color and the pod color. And they're showing you that they don't have anything to do with each other. You can get a yellow seed, but get a green pod. Some flashbacks. Mendel's idea that pairs of characteristics separate during gamete formation is called the law of, and hopefully you're getting the law of segregation. Mendel's law of this states that when two or more characteristics are inherited, individual hereditary factors are distributed independently during gamete production, giving different traits an equal opportunity to occur together. In other words, you don't have traits that have to go together. They sort out independent of each other. This is Mendel's law of independent assortment. There is a video here that you can watch of something called a dihybrid cross. A dihybrid cross is where you have two traits and you're looking for all the possible ways that those two traits could come together from two parents. And I will put the link to my notes when we're finished in the notes folder, and that way you can view the video if you'd like. You're going to go ahead and use your notes today to complete the work in Tuesday's folder. If you have questions, please email me and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. I hope you have a great day.